In this episode of Travelogue, I hike up volcanoes in search of ancient temples and find one clinging to a cliff like you would not believe. Join me in this third and final episode of our exciting Datong series for an adrenaline-pumping adventure. Welcome back to Travelogue in China, to the third and final episode of our three-part series in Datong. It's not immediately obvious out here in the wilderness, 350 kilometers directly west of Beijing, but Datong is the second largest city in Shanxi province, population 3.4 million. My name is Min-Zhui Lee, but you can just call me Zhui. And if you came along for the ride last time, you'll know that we went on a motorcycle journey along the Great Wall of China, one of humanity's finest ancient architectural accomplishments. You'd also know that I got as far as Inner Mongolia, Autonomous Region, and thought I'd say bye to the bike. But then I heard the word volcanoes, and I couldn't resist another ride. This is the Datong National Volcano Cluster Geological Park, quite a mouthful, and also an eyeful. The volcanic field, 30 or so kilometres east of downtown Datong, contains 30 or so cinder cones, one of which is top of my list.
See that temple up there? Well, like many sacred sites in China, it's on elevated ground, but this one is built on the original site of a temple that was constructed 1,500 years ago on the very crater of a volcano. Well, a dormant volcano, of course.
Actually, it's more accurately classified as extinct, as it hasn't erupted for tens of thousands of years and isn't expected to erupt ever again. So, it's absolutely no worries climbing up these steps to Howen Temple. Howen is another name for the Jade Emperor in Chinese mythology, the King of Heaven. I think he'd be rather pleased with the location of this temple, perched on the crater of Mount Tianshan. Though rebuilt in the 1980s, the sprawling Buddhist retreat feels beguilingly ancient. Buddhism came from India to China 2,000 years ago, taking hold in Datong as the state religion during the Northern Wei dynasty. That empire lasted from 368 to 534 AD, and Datong was its capital. This spiritual site, built so high up, is a powerful symbol of age-old Buddhist belief and devotion. There's a local saying that goes, Howen Temple is half a finger from the sky, over which even birds find it hard to fly. I'm headed to Mount Jinshan, one of the more, if not the most, notable cones in the Datong volcanic cluster. On the way, I come across a bunch of locals taking advantage of the blustery weather. Datong enjoys a temperate continental monsoon climate and has 4 distinct seasons. Although on this remote part of the trip, I feel like I've been subjected to all of them, with a generous serving of gale force winds. Kites were invented in China, with some sources claiming their existence dates back 2,500 years. They were traditionally made from bamboo and silk or paper. Historical uses include testing the wind, measuring distances, and military communication. Apparently, during battle, soldiers could even be carried by kite and dropped into strategic positions. These days, kite flying is a popular Chinese pastime, especially amongst the older generations. These geological beasts were formed when the Earth's crust ruptured, generally due to the movement of tectonic plates. The Datong volcano group is located at the intersection of two regional fault zones. At the foot of one of the volcanoes, a regular flock of sheep munch away on the sparse pasture, accompanied by some curious vocals. I've just found shepherds with operatic skills. What I'm hearing is called Rentai, a folk duet that originated in this part of Shanxi province. It's a very catchy tune, isn't it? It turns out they live in the nearby village, and one of them amicably gives me directions to his home in case I have time to pop in. I think I'll take him up on his offer, but priority number one is Mount Jinshan.
Of course, it's another leg day at Travelogue. So I'm climbing up one of the 30 or so volcanoes in the Datong volcanic cluster, and the last time that they erupted is said to be around 60,000 years ago. Now, what I have in my hand is a piece of igneous rock, which is formed when magma or lava cools and solidifies. And behind me, you can see a whole surface of black igneous rock and powder that's been exposed after the top layer of brown soil has been removed. Now let's keep going.
My butt and thighs are burning on this incline, but I remind myself that it's not every day I get to hike up volcanoes. Sometime during the Paleolithic period, this was a vast lake of sorts. Scientists have determined by studying the sediment that there was an eruption here 340,000 years ago. Lava was deposited over the next 280,000 years, and water levels receded, leaving us with the Mount Jinshan we can conquer today. And, halfway to its peak, an archive of holy holes.
You know, as a kid growing up in Australia, I always found Indigenous cave paintings to be really magical, and I'm kind of getting the same sort of feeling here. I mean, yeah, these may not be as old, but they still date back 500 years. Now, what used to be here was a temple, and what's left today are these Buddhist artworks. Now, if you look up, you will notice that there are two different materials. This is the black igneous rock, and this is a layer of a mixture of clay and also glutinous rice and straw. So what they did back then was to apply this mixture, and then once it dried, they painted over it. And what you can see are these vibrant, well, still very vibrant artworks today. It's a very precious place, isn't it?
The local folk here say that once upon a time, this temple, perched on the south-facing slope of the volcano, pulsated with life and prayer, the air thick with the smell of incense. I try to picture the place bustling with Buddhist monks and nuns and pilgrims, try to imagine how these walls would have looked in the temple's heyday, half a millennium ago. But, like so many ancient sites in Datong, to me, it's more enchanting this way, weathered and whittled away by time. Coming up next, I hang out with a singing shepherd in his village at the base of a volcano, and then with some craftsmen who are masters of taming fire.
You're watching breaking news on CGTN.
红枣，喧闹了枝头，花瓣颜色好。
I'm in Datong's hometown of Huoshan. Huoshan literally meaning fire mountains. In other words, volcanoes. The majority of the tiny hamlets in Datong's Yunzhou district are sprinkled at the base of the volcanoes and named after the volcano itself. This is East Mount Gelao village, waking up to another morning. It's a quiet existence out here in relative isolation, especially with the younger generation away, seeking work in the city. But I've come here to look for some noise, courtesy of this gentleman.
大哥，你好。
哎呀，大妹子，你来了！
我来找你来了。
好，我马上下去。
好的，好的。
Hello, look what we have here.
大哥，你昨天放羊的时候唱那首歌，我觉得很好听。
啊，好听。
对啊，我就
我
想过来。
当然都会唱这两句。
是吗？我就想过来再听一下。
好，我会在洗把脸，这会儿咱们到地再唱。
哦，好。
哎，好，
那
好，好。
我等你吧。
What an epic sound system, right? That was hands down the best taxi ride I've ever been on.
I'm so glad to have met this shepherd. He's just so humble and happy, and gosh, he has a voice, doesn't he? Well, I kind of feel bad that he's out there doing work while I'm getting toasty here, but he's insisted that I stay put, and once he's done, he's going to come over and tell me all about his folk songs.
山远个里，真远个真，我的哥那放羊转就闯，羊群那个在前，还热的在后。 再叫一声我乌鸦，跟那哥还多会儿来上过。吃吧。
谢谢。
Often, living in the furious frenzy of downtown Beijing, I forget the simple joys of life. Warming my toes with fire, warming my belly with baked potatoes, warming my soul with the company of a jolly host.
哎呀，你看一看，
Wow!
特别香。
Wow! Look at that!
好吃吗？
嗯，
哎，好吃。
好吃，好吃。
Oh yeah. All it needs is a ton of melted cheese on top, and I'll be the happiest person on earth.
大哥，你唱的歌是什么歌？是哪里来的？
啊，我们这二人台随便唱，大的小的都会唱，乱唱几句。
都会唱。
哎，都喜欢唱这个二人台。
哦，
哦，
叫我唱一小段吧。
好，
我的歌声不好，
好，都咱们慢慢的来。
慢慢的来。
哎，小妹妹我小弟，手呀个玩那个热，你唱。
小妹妹，
小妹妹我小弟，
I think I'm gonna give up before I
手
even
呀
start.
个那玩那个热。 拿的不客气，筷子还端呀不起刀端。
我喜欢那一段，嘿嘿嘿嘿。It sounds like laughing， 嘿嘿嘿嘿是什么意思？
这就是这个意思吧，就是喜欢的意思。
哦，
喜欢的意思就是。
喜欢？
哎。
哦。
After failing at being the other half of an Thai duet, I get to do something I excel at, eating. The baked potatoes turn out to be merely an appetizer because back at Mr. Du's place, I'm in for a tantalizing treat in a cave dwelling, a very local banquet in a very local setting. The spread is representative of northern Shanxi cuisine, a little on the saltier and oilier side. a bit more calorific to combat the dry cold of Datong's climate. And we're eating cross-legged on a kang, a traditional northern Chinese heated platform for sleeping on at night and dining on during the day. Or whatever you want. It's perfect. Of course, to whip up a delectable Datong meal, one must use the right kitchenware. And so it's not surprising that, to make scrumptious braised vegetables and tender beef stew, every Datong family owns a special earthenware pot. This is the traditional technique of producing qingsha pots, which are kind of like ceramic casserole dishes. They've been manufactured this way in Datong's Hunyuan County for 300 years. A mixture of raw materials, finely sifted earth and coal, are expertly shaped on a custom-made throwing wheel before going into the kiln.
您好，师傅，您在拉坯是吗？
啊，是。
师傅，您是怎么学的呢？
我通过自己一个人琢磨，也看见别人。
你自己学的？
啊。
这个是你做的机器吗？
哎，机器不是。
不是你做的。
啊，机器。我这个拉坯，我自己一个人弄。
哦，那拉坯的难度是什么呢？
啊，难度在好几个方面，就是它最后一个还是压力又旺，烧锅又用，嘎边又僵，起木又亏。啊，
不容易。
干啥也不容易。
那您一天可以做多少个这个？
一天做个3几百个吧。
3几百个。Well, he's just told me that he makes a little bit of money per pot, so I think I'm going to leave him to it, lest he doesn't make his quota. 那您就继续吧，我不打扰您了，谢谢。
It's a very effective assembly line that requires craftsmanship, precision, speed, and the skill of not getting burned. Unfired qingsha pots are churned out, placed in the allocated positions in coal nests, and baked in kilns at 1,100 degrees Celsius. Once the lids start to glow a certain shade of red, imperceptible to my rookie eyes, but discernible to theirs, they're rapidly removed and the smouldering pots hauled into dirt pits where they're covered up again to cool gradually.
This is better than fireworks. 好热！你现在就是在做什么？
有忙的。
啊，现在好了，就让它，
就往烧啥？
让它凉下来。So this gentleman is removing these pots after they've been cooled for about 45 minutes, which then makes space for the pots to come out of the kiln to be placed here to be cooled for another 45 minutes. So it's a very long and very hot process.
These pots are described as 物美价廉, cheap but good, inexpensive but elegant. However, now I know that making them is no walk in the park. Careful teamwork is vital, especially in the dark. One small error, for example, being too slow to put the lid back on for the flame to reach a metre or more in height, could lead to discoloured or brittle pots, and other errors could be excruciating. But these Datong craftsmen are extra competent, so all you need to worry about is the flavour of the food you make. Coming up next, the aptly named Hanging Temple, a 1,500-year-old monastery clutching at a cliff with nothing but wooden beams.
What starts from a simple idea evolves, multiplies, grows into a wave of innovation, stories of success, and of inspiration. New Money. Only on CGTN.
It's a sacred and surreal site. 65 kilometers southeast of downtown Datong, an ancient monastery clings perilously to the vertical precipices of Mount Hengshan.
What a jaw-dropping scene to behold, right? Well, that's the very appropriately named Hanging Temple of Datong, built at least 1,500 years ago. And its lowest point is 46 meters above the ground. Now, it does look like it's suspended about a third of the way up the cliffside, doesn't it? But if you can cast your eyes momentarily away from this engineering marvel and look downwards, you can see two Chinese characters inscribed there on the rock. Now, it's a replica of calligraphy done by perhaps China's most celebrated poet called Li Bai, and it says Zhuang Guan, which means magnificent sight, and that most certainly is.
Or an understatement, in my opinion. According to legend, a monk by the name Liao Ran began building the temple towards the end of the Northern Wei dynasty, around the year 490. Over the next 1,400 years, many repairs and extensions were done, creating what we see today, a true spectacle of mechanical theory, human ability, and history. It's no surprise that tourists flock here throughout the year. I'd definitely recommend avoiding a visit during public holidays. After all, this is destination number 2 in Datong, after the UNESCO-listed Yungang Grottos, which we explored in episode 1. The framework of the Hanging Temple, Xuankong Si in Chinese, was constructed by drilling holes into the cliff and inserting oak crossbeams into them. The monastery halls hug the contours of the cliff face, connected by timber ramps and corridors. How could a building like this survive for so long? Well, part of the reason is that it's shielded from the worst of the rain, snow, and sunlight by the mountain's prominent peak. But still, what about its foundations?
Do you see these vertical pillars behind me? Well, I'll tell you what, believe it or not, they don't actually offer any structural stability at all. They can be fully removed and the temple will stay as it is, defying gravity. The only reason why they're here is just to make us feel a little bit safer. Does it? Yeah, I think so.
If you're afraid of heights, it's a great challenge. Even for me, and I'm not scared of much except pigeons. Yeah, you heard me, pigeons. My legs are a bit wobbly looking down because, 1, this temple is old, like 1,500 years old. 2, it creaks, a lot. 3, it's narrow. 4, tourists are heavy. And 5, it's a 50, 60, 70 meter plunge straight to the ground. Anyway, a trick is to distract yourself with the delicate and delightful architecture and design. After so many years, the colours are still exceptionally vivid. Also, if it makes you feel better, the wooden beams and planks and rafters were coated in tung oil, protecting it from termites and decay.
Oh my goodness! I'm glad I haven't put on that much weight on this trip. Oh. All right, yeah.
It's no wonder they've made this a one-way visiting channel. On several occasions, it's been a tight fit, whether on staircases or walkways. So I make sure not to miss any shrines because a U-turn might be problematic.
You know what makes this place even more special? Well, it enshrines the 3 traditional Chinese religions of Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism. So back in the day, weary travelers of all 3 faiths could have come here to rest and pray.
In the Sanjiao, or 3 religions hall, a Buddha sits alongside statues of Lao Tzu and Confucius, the founders of Taoism and Confucianism. Significantly, It demonstrates there was harmony among religions even centuries ago in China. Wow. You know, this Buddhist rock sculpture dates back 1.5 millennia to the Northern Wei dynasty. Yeah, I can't get over just how old parts of this place are. It really blows my mind. Precariously pinned to a cliff, the Hanging Temple is believed to have been erected this high up to safeguard it from floods and to ensure absolute peace for meditation. It became a transit station for people journeying through Datong's remote terrain, catering to anyone, whatever their belief. These days, it's a tourist attraction, but its impact and importance cannot be overlooked. The Hanging Temple of Datong is not just a historical site of worship, it's a wonder of the world, an engineering accomplishment that's testament to the ingenuity of our forefathers. For me, it was the highlight of my Datong experience, and I'm glad I left the best to last, literally ending on a high. Datong, the grand capital of the Northern Wei dynasty. A frontier city crisscrossed for centuries by emperors, soldiers, traders, monks. An extraordinarily diverse place, topographically and culturally, multi-ethnic, multi-faith, a symbol of civilization, development, and unity. I dare say, I know Datong much better now.
Well, it's been one action-packed adventure here in Datong, but as the saying goes, all good things must end, and this has been a very, very, very good thing. We've done so much, we've gone from dragon walls to the Great Wall, from earthenware pots to hot pots, from 2 legs to 2 wheels. I think we've truly captured the inspiring, the intriguing, and also very intoxicating soul of Datong. My name is Min-Zhui Lee. I'll catch you next time on Travelogue.
In the next episode of Travelogue, we dig deep into Ningxia's past to discover a region steeped in mystery, a vanished kingdom, enigmatic rock carvings, and a dinosaur that challenges our theory of evolution.